Hi guys, I'm Lily. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to take you start to finish through a coastal landscape. I will be working with a photo from Martha's Vineyard. I linked that down below so everyone can have access to the photo to work from the same photo if you would like. I purposely chose a photo that is not super bright, colorful. Sometimes I do edit my photos for colors, but not usually. The way I edit my photos is just to get the lines and the composition that I want. And I like to be able, especially in a class, to leave the color scheme up to my and your imagination so that if you see a photo that's really beautiful and filled with beautiful colors, then you're naturally going to want to use those colors and try to recreate them. Whereas if it's kind of like a dull gray day, I think that we naturally will feel like we have a little more creative license and room to come up with what we really want to create. So that's the photo we're using. And today I'm going to take you through my startup. Okay, so let's get started. And in a second video that'll be linked below, I take you through the actual painting process. So this is a wood panel, cradled wood. You can use canvas, same exact process. All I did to this was I did a cadmium red light underpainting base. That gives a neutral or a medium value to paint on top of, so that basically all of our colors, whether it's white or black, this is in the middle between white and black on the value spectrum. So everything will be sort of going equally on. So instead of where you're trying to put white onto a white canvas, this also gives just like a nice warm glow to the painting that I really love. So you don't have to do a sketch. Now, sometimes when I'm painting a landscape, I just launch right in and I start going. I usually start with the sky and come down. But if you want to sketch it out first and have a real plan on your canvas, I'm gonna say canvas even though I'm using wood today, there are several options that I wanna show you here. You can use good old-fashioned number 2 pencil. Everyone has one of these. It's a little bit harder to see. I mean, I can see it up close, but it's a little bit harder to see. So it's not impossible to see. If this is the only option that you have, I use it very frequently. This is not, a bad option at all. I use it all the time, actually. So I'm on the other side of my studio over here that I'm looking at. The wall opposite me is a painting that I sketched out in pencil. So definitely, like, it's not, the lesser option. But there are some other things you can do, especially if you just want to try something new. You can use charcoal. This is a charcoal pencil. So, you can see you can see that a little bit better. Another option, oil pastel. So especially if you're working with oil paint, I would not use this if you're using acrylic, but since this is technically an oil painting tutorial, oil pastel is just, it's the same materials, it's the same pigment, and it's in like a denser oil, it's still an oil base is what I'm trying to say. So if you're just adding more linseed oil to your pigment on top of this, it works perfectly, and this ends up just blending in. So you can see it's really, you can see it really nicely. And like I said, when you go over it with the brush and the paint, everything just blends in perfectly. Finally, last but not least, and what I'm going to use today is Posca paint pen. I actually really liked the feel of that oil pastel. I kind of wish I had chosen that, but I'm using this for a reason. It's a little more precise than the oil pastel, and there is a little coastal cottage over here in the reference photo that I chose. So this will allow me to really get those lines exact. And I like to have that because when you're coming in on top of it with a paintbrush, it's not as easy to get like the straight exact line. So if you start out with a nice straight exact line, which by the way you would get as well, you know, with either of the pencil options, this is really, really helpful to me. What I did is I printed out the photo that we're using. I don't always do this. Sometimes I'm like, if I'm not filming, then I'm holding my phone and looking at it. But it is nice to do this. Typically I would print it out larger, and I recommend that you print it out larger. My printer is almost out of ink, so I went small just to make sure it would actually print out. And it's really just to, you know, have your eyes on it. It's not entirely necessary, but I am going to tape it up next to where I'm working. So that is not a necessary step, but it is something that will help you. I also have a ruler in here somewhere, but again, you don't, anything with a straight edge is going to work to really get your lines down. And you don't need a straight edge except for the fact that there's the little cottages in this photo. So that's what I'm using this for. So this is basically what I do. I decide where I want the land to go up to. And again, you can be as exact as you want with your photo reference photo, or you can sort of just use it very loosely and leave a lot up to your own interpretation. If you know me, then you know that the latter is what I usually go with. Unless I'm painting people, then I really like, you know, I do a grid and I get everything exact. But so for our purposes here, we're going to say the trees really come up on here. One of the things I really liked about this was the tree line. Okay. And then we have our cabins. And remember that you're painting over this, so like I just got that line a little off the first time I drew it, and that's okay. I just drew another second one because you're just painting over this. So this is only for you. This is purely your reference point. So nothing about it needs to be any more exact than like you want it to be, if that makes sense. I've painted this particular house several times. I love it so much. When I lived on Martha's Vineyard, this was where I would go running a lot of days. A couple more trees coming up behind it there. We have the chimney here. And some more windows. Some bushes coming in the front here. I want to get the road exact, so it really have trees. Make the road come there. Yeah. Okay. So that is the extent of sketching that I do. I know you probably can't see it that well on the camera. I was using a posca pen. All of these options are linked down below, but you can use whatever you want. Even a number 2 pencil works perfectly. So that is basically what I do to get my canvas or wood set up to start painting. Next, I will choose my palette. All of these supplies, everything I use is linked down below and listed. This is essentially what I use. It's not, you know, as visually appealing for video as a glass palette, but these disposable palettes are really useful, especially for oil. If you're working with acrylic, it's really easy to scrape it off of, peel it off of a glass palette once it's dry, but oil dries so slowly and the different colors dry at such different rates that if you're using a glass palette, it's so hard to clean. These are really useful. So yeah, I'm gonna choose my palette, and whatever I choose, I will, is listed below as well. So you can see the colors that I'm going to use. But again, feel free to choose your own palette, to experiment a little bit, make it as colorful or as neutral as you want. You know, you could take this one photograph and you could decide that, there it is, you could decide that you want it to be a foggy gray day, or, you know, to have like a really nice neutral painting in your house, or you could make it like as bright and neon and colorful as you want. So that is completely up to you. That's why I chose this really like neutral photograph to work from, so that you can really use your creativity there, decide how you want to do it. Again, everything is linked below, including the next video in which we will paint this start to finish together. So I will see you over there. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon.